The molasses and water are heated now, and I've turned off the heat. We just want them to be warm enough to mix. Now, the secret I talked about involves taking one egg yolk, I take all the white out, as much white out as possible. There we go. Now we're going to put the egg yolk in a small bowl. We're going to add a half teaspoon of baking soda. Now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of flour, in this case pastry flour. We're going to add 1, we're going to add 2, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of flour to the egg yolk and the soda. We're going to mix them around, and what I found is it's always too dry to actually put into the molasses. Again, we don't want the problem of it forming lumps. So I add a little water to it, probably a couple of tablespoons, just enough to make it more liquidy than dry. The reason we make this mixture of the egg yolk and the flour is that this will help keep the filling separated from the topping. Again, that's what we want. We want a wet bottom. And if you don't add the egg yolk and the flour to the molasses and water, what you'll find is that the molasses and the water filling simply are absorbed by the topping, and then you have the dry bottom, which we don't want. Okay, there, that is liquidy enough now that we can add it to the molasses and water mixture once this cools off. If I add it in now, I'm afraid the egg yolk is going to curdle. So we're going to wait until this cools down to room temperature, then we'll add it, and then that will form the basis for our wet bottom filling that we will add to the pie later on. Okay, we're going to go back to the Jemina house now, and we're going to do some more prep work. As you can see, the fire has burned down quite a bit. It's now 11:30. Fire's been going for an hour. So we need to put a significant amount of wood in here for the second hour. All right, I think we'll let that go for now. Let's get back to making some whoopie pie filling. Now we're going to make the whoopie pie filling. Whoopie pies are similar to shoe-fly pie in that they have been seriously maligned. It's as difficult to find a good whoopie pie, a traditional whoopie pie, as it is to find a traditional shoe fly pie for the same reason. Modern commercial baking simply cannot follow, or typically does not follow, traditional recipes. What we're going to do here is that the filling, or the icing for the whoopie pie, is actually a cooked icing, which distinguishes it from any other type of powdered sugar, buttercream frosting that is traditional in the sense of a commercial whoopie pie. What we're going to do, though, the home-based Pennsylvania Dutch whoopie pie filling is a cooked filling. We're going to start with a cup of milk. Actually, I almost made the same mistake here I made the other day with the starter. We're going to start with the 5.5 tablespoons of flour, because it's a lot easier to put the liquid into the dry than it is to put the dry into the liquid. 2, 3, 4, 5.5, and those are heaping tablespoons. Now I have the flour. Now we're going to add the milk. I'm going to turn on the heat. Basically what we're doing is we're going to be making a white sauce. Slowly add the milk. Again, this is my mistake the other day by adding the potato water too quickly into the flour as we were rejuvenating the starter. This is the way to do it. This is how we learn from experience. We're adding the milk to the flour. Now we're going to turn up the heat, and we're going to stir it until it thickens. This is a lot like watching water boil, and just about as exciting. But what we're doing is we're cooking the base for the filling, or the icing. After this cooks and thickens, basically making a white sauce, as I said earlier, we're going to set it aside until it cools. And later this afternoon, in fact, one of the last things we're going to be doing today is putting the whoopie pies together, so that to this thickened sauce, this thickened white sauce, we're going to be adding butter and sugar and vanilla, beating it in, and that is the icing. The reason this is not a commercially feasible routine is that you'll find, as with all cooked icings, is that they start to evaporate almost immediately. The old story about 7-minute icing is not just that it takes 7 minutes of beating on the stove and the double boiler to make it. It lasts about 7 minutes, but those 7 minutes are incredible. It's the same thing with the whoopie pie filling. Within an hour, within 1 hour of making the icing and basically filling the cookies, you've already find that the filling, or the stuffing, is disintegrating, it's evaporating. Now if you look in here, you'll find that the sauce is already made. It's already thick. It doesn't take long at all. And by stirring it constantly, you'll help ensure that there are as few lumps as possible. So again, this is the basis for the filling. We're going to add butter, vanilla, and sugar, granulated sugar, not powdered sugar, to this as the basis for our filling, the icing for the whoopie pie. So we turn off the heat. We set this aside, and now we're going over to the Gemeinde house for more prep work. I'm going to take the raisins are plumped up. We're going to be making the filling for the apple raisin pie. We're going to be making the topping for the shoe fly pie and the apple raisin pie. I'll come back for the, well, let's check it out now, see if it's cool. Yeah, it's lukewarm now. I'm testing the filling for the shoe fly pie, the molasses and water. They were boiling. What we're going to do now is we're going to add the egg yolk, flour, and soda paste to the filling. Stir it in. It's cool to the point where it's not going to cook the yolk. That was my main concern. I don't know how well you can see this, but basically it's the soda floating on top with the flour and the egg yolk. And we're going to keep this to one side until we're ready to put the shoe fly pie together. So let's go back over and we'll do some more prep work.